Hello you, it's Sunday night, we're ready, we're primed, and we're here for your audio listening pleasure. It's Audio Who. And tonight, me and the guys here have gathered to sit and talk crispy over I think for Peter Davison's Doctor, alongside the crispy one known as Geffrey Beavers as the Master, and the first in a trilogy entitled And You Will Obey Me from the Big Finish main range. What do you think about that? Well, you're about to find out, folks, but before we get to that, let's get to your panel for this evening. Well, if you're Tottenham, Phil, how you doing, mate?
Good evening, I'm doing right, thank you.
Good to have you, mate. Good to have you. Early doors on a Monday morning, it's the thunder from down under. How are you doing, AJ?
Guys, how are you today?
Good to have you, man. Deep in the heart of the nutsack and the bowels of hell, it's Texas Tim Wells. How's it going, Tim?
How's it going?
Good to have you, man. MIC's on Mr. Will Medina. Well, who's your pick for the playoffs now?
Who cares? The goal dropped dead. Hey, now, how you doing, everybody?
I think what he means is go Packers, because they're playing the Cowboys. And joining us for the first time on Audio Who, hopefully the first of one or two appearances you're never going to appear. Connor, how you doing, mate?
Hello, everyone.
Good to have you, man. Always a pleasure to have a new face from time to time. So yeah, guys, And You Will Obey Me. Interesting concept in the sense that we have Peter Davison's Doctor going up against his predecessor's Master. But as usual, Big Finish find a way of shoehorning this stuff in here, and we're off to the races. So where to begin? All right, AJ, can I get your opening thoughts, please, mate, on And You Will Obey Me, Peter Davison and Geffrey Beavers. And while you're at it, get the cast list up, please, mate. Thank you.
Me or was it? Oh, okay, hi. Yeah, I really enjoyed this story. It was quite entertaining. It was good to see Peter Davison go against this version of the Master, to see how he would handle it and all that. It was a good use of the children too. I thought they were very intricate to the part of the story without being annoying. So more or less overall the story was quite entertaining. I didn't fall asleep during it, so there's a bonus.
Yeah, it's only a four-parter, so it's not drawn out too long. I highly agree. Philip, how about you with this one, mate? Thoughts?
Opening thoughts. Yes, I like this story too. I'm not sure, as much as we know where it fits with Peter Davison's Doctor's travels. I'm not quite sure, where does it fit with the Master?
Obviously before Keeper of Traken.
Before Keeper of Traken?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is more or less after Tercerus then.
Put it where you want. All you know is it's before Keeper of Traken, or it would be Anthony Ainley. So.
I'm trying to understand why he's in such a bad state when he crash lands in that barn place and everything. So I would assume that it takes place straight after that. In any case,
could it be before the Deadly Assassin?
After. It would have to be after. Because if you put in that what's that story called? Legend of the Daleks, where Susan supposedly kills him with his own TCE gun. That's why it's confusing. But let's go beyond that. The story itself, yeah, it's okay. It's an okay story. I would have liked a bit more of Geffrey Beavers' Master actually showing up to face off the Fifth Doctor a bit more. And the way that he scuttled off at the end was a bit of a cheap, ending, to be honest, for me. The kids were fine. It was a nice idea that they were controlled by some sort of mental hold over them to help him cure himself and whatever have you. I don't know, it's okay, but it's a slightly off story for me, but it needs a couple of listens for me to get my head around it, to be honest.
I think the general problem with this is, mate, is a lot of it doesn't make sense until you hear the full trilogy.
Yeah.
As well. So,
that's right. You're right.
All right, Timbo, how are you with this one, mate?
Yeah, like you said, this is initially the first 4 parts of a 12-part epic in a way. So that's why if there's anything that doesn't make a lot of sense at this point, it's kind of like that 60 trilogy with Jamie, where things are off kilter for the first two sections because it all gets resolved in the third. And there's a little bit of that going on here. But yeah, this is an entertaining listen. It's an unusual one. It's got a lot. They throw a lot of really weird ideas in there. And it's not your average monthly traditional Doctor Who. It's more of a it's kind of experimental, I would say. I like that he plays it. Beavers gets to play around with it a little bit. It's not the usual chuckling bad guy, because he even gets to say things like "You're killing Daddy." So it's pretty funny in that sense. I mean, it's weird. He has these kids. He has these kids. He's like their father figure, and he messes up their lives and completely. So that's pretty cool.
Excellent. Connor, how are you this one, man? What do you reckon?
I quite liked it. It's a sort of different idea for a master story. I would have liked a bit more of Davison in part 3. I think it was a bit missing in that one. And as Philip said, a bit more of Geffrey Beavers as the master. But overall, it was a great story. I did like the idea of the auction taking place, where they're sort of auctioning off the master's TARDIS. That was a bit of an odd idea, but it worked well. So yeah, I think it was overall a great story with Davison firing all cylinders, and when he is firing on all cylinders, he's a magnificent Doctor.
Isn't it dead yet? Well, for most people. AJ, how about you?
I know you mean Will. I've already done mine.
Sorry, mate. Sorry. Well, my apologies.
You're right.
Yeah, like, we all know this is the first of a 3-part story, sort of three stories like that. But just getting into this one alone, just this story, I didn't really like it that much. I mean, I liked it a little bit, but the scenes with the aliens, the 2 different alien sets that was there, they didn't need to be in the story. It should have just been the master, which didn't appear. He didn't physically appear to the final story with the final part. I got a little upset. That upset me right there. And then, of course, with him with the Doctor facing up, that should have been that. The kids, the master, and the Doctor, that should have been right there. And I'm gonna have to give you a little spoiler. See, the 5th Doctor thinks this master is he knows his ending because of the keeper tracking. But the thing is, he's not aware that this master is Alice McQueen. We're gonna find out in the 3rd story about that. So that's that little spoiler I had to get in. So that solves that problem right there. It's not bad when you see that you say that the teenagers who did not age, and of course one was being, you could say she lived well or was kept in Russia. Yeah, because because she didn't age, so the Russian was trying to do that because they got a dossier on the master like that. And then the other 2 was just busy doing things, living as kids because they didn't age either. But I'm a little bit upset that the boy, he said he wanted the girl to be in love with him. And for 34 years, I mean, all those years you 2 been together, you didn't try. You didn't even bother to tell her how you feel. You had to wait till all this shenanigan happened for you to come out and say it. That made no sense right there. I mean, you 2 know that you're not aging. You know who you are. And instead of you being communicated with each other, you're just busy stealing and all that nonsense instead of try to hide away from everybody until the master returned. I mean, that was a little bit confusing. I did not like the aliens appearing at all. They shouldn't have appeared. That did not make no sense. Of course, we're gonna know where they came from in the 3rd part, but that's what I mean. Yeah, I know because it jumps around, but just basing on this story alone, I did not like the aliens being in here because it could have just been easily the kids, the master, and the Doctor. Especially if you're going to use the master more than just one on the last part of the story. Physically, I mean, of course you go flashbacks, but physically he didn't fit to the 4th part. So you could have used it better than that.
Well, you know what? Each they're in, mate. I didn't really get it. Was it 8? What was the name of the 2nd batch? The robots that Annie turned out to be. Oh,
that Annie became?
Yeah.
Oh, she was. Oh, yeah, the robots. Hold on, let me check on that.
What are they?
The transhuman sisters.
The transhuman sisters. I'll give you. I agree with you in that sense. I prefer the Jade Nymphs. The Jade Nymphs. I thought they were something different. Albeit you had the chick that played Helen also playing the female Jade Nymph, and the guy who played the auctioneer playing the Dragon Master.
Yeah, Nick Ellsworth.
And who was the actress?
Jade and Helen was played by Peter Cornish.
There you go. So you'd a double paycheck there. I prefer the Jade Nymphs rather than the Transport Sisters thing. But no, I get your point to an extent, Will. But again, it's explained why they're there once we get to story 3. So because it jumps about, it maybe seem out of place to you. For me, yeah, I enjoyed it. I mean, all right, I'd agree to an extent. There could have been a wee bit more Beavers in the present, shall we say, rather than flashbacks, but it served an end to its means. The group of kids for the 80s, they were good. That could have got a wee bit tiresome had they been portrayed wrong, but they all served a purpose here, so that was good. And Davison with his usual top self, so I can't complain. It's by far not the best story that Big Finish has ever produced, but it's probably somewhere in the middle for me. You've got to remember, it's the first part of a trilogy, so you've got to cut out some slack till you get all the pieces of the jigsaw put together. Any events, characters, or instances that stood out for you guys? Phil? I'll mute yourself, man.
I listened to you this morning, so half of it's gone out of my head already, to be honest. I kind of think the bit where the people come along with the helicopter and they're coming to collect the Master's TARDIS.
The Russians, yeah.
That was the Russians.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Russians.
And then the Russian bloke kind of shoots them down with the staser.
Staser, not a laser.
Yeah, exactly. And that kept being corrected every 5 minutes, and I thought, okay, that's kind of funny, but after the third time, it gets a bit weary. But I did like that. That kind of gave me the shades of Deadly Assassin when the Master shoots the 3 of them in the bolts with his staser gun. And they're kind of, that was the kind of a good scene.
All right, man.
And also the bit where Tim had said earlier about you're hurting Daddy, that kind of thing. That was kind of weird.
Mikey, you're killing Daddy. Yeah.
So yeah.
Oh, dear. Yes, I capped Geffrey Beavers. Who knew? Tim, how about you, mate?
I'm lagging really badly. I agree. It's a bit of a busy story. It really is rewarding by a second listen. I found that out because I listened to this when it came out, and I listened to it again. I picked up a little bit more than I might have missed the first time around. Because you got a lot of things going on. But one thing I like is you know exactly where the Doctor is. This is immediately from his point of view after the awakening, right?
Yeah.
So he's left Tegan and Turlo to go hang out with her granddad or whatever. And it's interesting too because he meets one of the kids when he's a kid, and of course the kid later as an adult tries to throw a guilt trip on him because he says, if you had told me all this, we wouldn't have been in this mess. It's your fault, you know, which is kind of true in a way because the Doctor's there because the Master crash landed or whatever, or vice versa. It's interesting that the poor Fifth Doctor, he always has to be the one that feels guilty. But it's overall it's a good story. I think it's a good start. I think once you get to the end of the trilogy, it all makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, that's probably the issue here, and that's why some folks might have some bugbears with a few subject matter within the story.
I did feel that when the Master's TARDIS was calling out a distress signal, why was it not calling out a distress signal to Gallifrey rather than to another TARDIS? I didn't quite understand.
Are you kidding? You know what the time was on it here? Yeah.
You know what the Celestial Intervention Industry would do with that? Man, it'll cause more mayhem. They already caused enough problems there in that Light the End storyline. That's
true. But then
again, Straxus, yeah.
Yeah, but then again, like I said, the Master's TARDIS doesn't know that the Master's evil. It does understand it, but it's not its fault that its pilot is a bit of a wanker. But,
Quote of the night, your pilot is a bit of a wanker. Yeah.
Well, remember that even though the TARDIS, you can say is alive, he doesn't differentiate between good and evil. He just does his job for its pilot. You know,
yeah, that's true. All right. AJ, and start it for you, mate.
Yeah, I like the part where the Master's trapped on Earth with the kid still, and he's trying to build stuff to help him with his TARDIS, and he has that tantrum where he's, you know...
Oh, yeah.
It felt like the Third Doctor being trapped on Earth, Damn it, how can I work with this stuff?
Yeah. These are for time tots. Yeah.
And also when he tells the kids, come on, children, sit around and listen to Daddy. It's his story time with Beavers. That was quite messed up in the sound of it.
And the fact that the boy has to occasionally rub him down with liniment oil just to smooth him.
Let's no go there.
No, I remember his brother came back from the war, the Falkland Wars, which a certain major was at.
I wonder if he met Harry. Yes.
Yeah. So his brother came back burned. That's the time he was able to get all that cream for the master and all that. But he thinks he's burned the way his brother was.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else, AJ?
No.
Nope. Okay. Well.
You know what's funny? Who stood out, even though she turned out to be a stupid robot.
Annie?
It was Annie, because she's there in the beginning of the storyline, watching the bid, and of course she gets involved when the teenagers come in and try to steal the clock, and she's there. So I first thought, even though I already listened to this the second time, I actually thought either she was a KGB agent, or she was either with UNIT or with Torchwood.
Yeah.
Or the Forge.
Yeah.
I thought she was one of these spies that they're trying to get a TARDIS for them. But then when it turned out, like I said, that she turned out to be an assassin from another, like, oh, what they had to do that was so good.
That's what fembots, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, like, oh man, a fembot, man, give me a break, man. It could have been better if she was a spy or something like that. I mean, I didn't hate it that bad, but just seeing Andy the way she was acting out like that since the beginning of the story was pretty stood out. I liked it like that. But when they changed it at the end, I'm like, man, give me a break. You know what's weird? The master, I mean, he had these kids, they didn't age like that. It's a miracle since, remember, this story is taking place in 2016. He did not, for the 34 years that he had them under control, he did not use them at all to try to steal anything, any little thing from UNIT or any of those big scientific places that, since he's been around for such a long time, I remember he's been on Earth so many different times like that. Where certain places are that have a lot of technology. Yeah. The milk in there, he haven't used them to try to steal stuff like that.
That's true.
Except for UNIT, they've been trading against hypnotism, most of them.
Now when the master's supposed to be in the grave, did he actually crawl out of that?
That was Timmy's brother.
That was his brother was buried there.
That was Mikey's brother.
Oh. I see. I'm not listening to that story properly. I'll have to go back and listen to it again.
Yeah. The fembots basically talked about with that, and that turned out that Masterson, the whole alias.
Yeah, Master's son, all that.
Connor, how about you? Stand out, mate?
It's got to be the inclusion of the Russian KGB. The fact that they have a file on the master. When you could easily have just put UNIT or Torchwood in there, it's a different twist on things, and it was their slightly more ruthless approach when they're trying to retrieve the clock. Again, the inclusion of new Gallifreyan technology in the Staser gun was nice to see as well. It's nice that they're having a bit of imagination and they're playing around with ideas, especially where Gallifrey is concerned. But yeah, the standout moments has to definitely be Davison and Beavers' parts, because they just ran with the story and it just worked so well. The kids as well, I did like the idea of the master sort of controlling the kids. It felt a bit like and I think one of the kids actually alluded to it, E.T. Yeah, it was a bit like that. It did feel like that sort of story, so it was a great idea. Yeah, I just loved every bit of it, actually.
Excellent, mate. Okay. And for myself, yeah, as I said, who played Annie? Well,
he's muted.
Give me a second. Annie was by Sheena Batissa.
Again, a name I'm not familiar with, but she did a bang-up job. But I'll agree with Will. She was great as Annie. The minute she turned into the fembot in part 4, I'm like, really?
Yeah, I'm like, what the heck?
Really?
I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. This character was so great during the whole first 3 chapters, and then they changed it to that. I think, give me a break. You couldn't do something else, man. Stop bringing in aliens at the last minute, man.
I do find it ironic that the aliens more or less took out one another, though. The nymphs were taken out by the Fembot-esque type things, and then obviously.
Yeah, I do agree that what we all said earlier, that those Dragonfire things, they need to be in the story. They just kind of confused it even more for me.
I didn't mind them. I mean, they weren't exactly in it a lot. They were basically in 3 segments.
Yeah.
You know.
They said their purpose is bounty hunters, though.
Yeah. Well, again, that's explained later on. It's just because this is only 4 parts, yeah, 12-part doohickey, you know, so we'll see what happens anyway. So, yeah, no, I enjoyed that. And Beavers and Davison, as always, top form. Doesn't matter what pairing you put these lot up with one another, they always tell a good story to the best of their ability. Right, guys, open mic portion of the cast. Anything else you want to bring up before we get this rated, zipped up, and in the can and the books?
Even though we're going to find out later on, this doctor does not remember the meeting this master with what's going to happen in the future.
Yeah, there's a reason for that.
Part. That's a reason for it. So that's probably why he thought that this one is right after Logopolis and all that stuff. So
I think pacing-wise, it's quite a fast story because it does feel like the first part of a trilogy because there's an awful lot of setup in the first 2 parts, but it's quite quick. And then you sort of get to the flashback scenes and it seems to slow down a bit. But it doesn't matter because it brings the story, it gives it a bit of backstory and a bit of depth. So I really enjoyed it in that regard, in having the flashbacks in there. Yeah. But yeah, the pacing was, for a sort of setup story, it was very quick, and I'm looking forward to seeing what the rest of the trilogy brings.
Yeah, I'll go to admit, I did find the whole mind control aspect for the symbiotic nuclei. You know, it's where it's an old concept in some respects, it's somewhat new in others. Mainly because, especially how Mikey rejected it by refusing to shoot the driver. You're like, oh really? Yeah, so you don't shoot somebody and you can break mind control. Well, that basically stopped the cigarettes coming back then, didn't it?
It's interesting that the 5th Doctor is very open with his you know, open about Gallifrey, open about Time Lords and regeneration to someone he hardly knows. What does it matter? Because by the end of the story, they're not going to remember it. They did. Well, true, true, but he's just very free with his own knowledge, really, which is kind of unusual. Not very dull.
You can just get a file on him anyway.
Yeah, true.
Hey, AJ.
I was just going to say, this story, in a way, reminded me a lot of the 96 movie with Paul McGann, where the Master was on Earth dying and needed a new body, and he was going to take the doctors. See, the problem with the story is you guys complained there wasn't enough Master, and I reckon if you had too much Master, you would have had Eric Roberts.
Bruce, yeah.
I don't agree with that.
No. You sit back and watch it again, then listen to it again, and then watch the movie. You'll see there's a lot of parallels between the two, where he's like controlling children and whatnot. And
is this because the unofficial title of the movie was The Enemy Within?
Yes. Why not? Also, towards the end of the story, I thought the kids would have been more powerful if they all...
His present...
Oh, sorry.
Was that him?
He was saying by his presence.
Sorry, I'm lagging really badly. I was going to say his presence hangs over the whole story, though, with his laughter in between scenes and stuff like that, as if he's there. I mean, it's not like he's not there the whole time. I wouldn't say that. It's just he's not there interacting with anybody.
That's true. Anything else, guys?
Yeah, I didn't finish. Also, towards the end of the story with the kids, I thought if they all grouped together and used the ability against the Master, they could have subdued him. Yeah,
I thought that's what they done towards the end.
It didn't feel like it to me.
Oh, well, no, because remember, they're taking him in the chamber and he's going, well, what did they promise you? What did you not get?
Yeah.
You know, so...
okay, maybe I
Of course, by that time, Mikey was you know...
Sorry, okay, I might have missed that bit then.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mikey was flaking skins and all that. Mm. That's why.
Us? With this story, once he's left the Master's escape, with this story would have followed the Doctor into the story Omega. because he's trying to get back to Tegan Tello, yet somewhere on the line, he's leaving Omega alone. So would have been followed on?
You'd have to go and check where they placed Omega. I can't remember.
Okay.
Yeah, we got to pick on that one. We don't know if this happened before or after Omega.
Anyone else? No.
I'm good for now.
Simon Tim there can hear us. It's that time again.
To end the party. To answer the phone, but also to end the party so they had no booze.
We're all out of booze, yes. Okay. All right, guys. And you will obey me. Big Finish main range number... Crap, I forgot the number. 2 something.
207, I think? 209?
207.
I'll check right now.
Hang on.
Well, the hell was it? 200 already.
211.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Okay. Big Finish main range number 211.
Yeah, so sue us.
Peter Davison and Geffrey Beavers. And Tim is having such connection problems, he has dropped out.
Well, his phone must have not been paid.
Yeah, there you go. So, what do you give this out of 10, mate?
Who?
Oh, me? Okay.
Okay, Black, yes. Yeah.
Right. Because it wasn't so it wasn't so linear with the master for me.
The word is coherent.
Yeah. Thank you. Because it wasn't so coherent. Because it wasn't so coherent for me in a sense, I'm going to knock it down to say an 8.5. Because it's a good story, but I wanted a bit more crispy, doing a bit more rather than flashbacks.
You wanted a bit more crispy?
Yes. So, because I'm very keen on Geffrey Beavers Master, so I wanted a bit more showcase of him. So, an 8.5, luckily for me.
Alrighty, 8.5 down Tottenham way. AJ, what's the Thunder from Down Under number?
I will give it a 9 out of 10. It was a good story, and there wasn't too much of any one character like being overly present in the story. So it was a good story. It was
9 out of 10 for AJ.
Stupid. What a sucker.
Yeah, what a sucker. Okay, well, knock it down a few.
I'm gonna give it a 7.5. I mean, it's not a bad story, but there's certain stuff that shouldn't have been there. And I wish Geffrey Beavers would have, even though we hear him in the voice in the first 3 episodes, but I wish he was physically there to be more of a threat to the Doctor. I really wish it was between them, those two, and the kids, because the Annie revelation and the 4th chapter really knocked it down, man. That pissed me off. 7.5 for me.
Alrighty, man. And Connor, how about you?
I'll give it a solid 7.5 as well. Good setup, and I'm sure it's the start of a cracking trilogy.
Okay, and in the absence of Texas Tim, in the event that he can't get back in, I will insert his rating here. And myself, I will give this a solid 8. By far, no the best, but at the same time, by far not the worst. And it's a decent enough start to a very enjoyable trilogy. So there we go. Pete Davison, Geffrey Beavers, top-notch job.
Yeah, the man of mine.
And speaking of top-notch jobs, Timbo, if you can hear us, what do you rate this sucker?
I give it an 8.
8 out of 10, down in the nutsack, right on time, mate. And by the way, you're not wagging anymore. So, excellent. 8 out of 10 for Tim. So with that, guys, we are done, dusted, and finito, and in the can this week on Audio Who.
Yeah, wait. What did you give it? I didn't hear you ready again.
I gave it an 8.
An 8. Yeah. 2 8s, 2 7.5. Oh.
And then AJ was flying high by himself today, so there you go. He can fly higher than an eagle. Anyway, so there you go. Done, dusted, in the can, guys, and we are done for the week. And next week we'll be back and we will tackle part 2 in the trilogy with Colin Baker and Alex Hello You McQueen. And Philip?
It will be called The Vampire of the Mind. Which
yes.
Is the free, so there you go.
There you go. The Vampire of the Minds, Colin Baker, flying solo, and we have the Baldy one for an outing. The first time will be good old sexy. So we'll tackle that one and we'll see what the panel think. As you were. As always, guys, please check out our buddies on the wonderful wackety world of the YouTube. You get the boys and girls over at Geeks Assembled, where they cover everything geekdom. You get Dr. Freedom and his Amiga Files, daily news broadcasts, and the adventures of Dr. Freedom and Eric. You've got Sue with Tardos Blue Radio. You've got Harry with Dr. Who's go read a book, whatever it's called. You've got Johnny Boy, Sammy Cat, Dr. Freedom, Mike Shannon whenever he's online. Oh, you know the drill by now. Like, share, comment, subscribe. And to our 6 fans, thank you for tuning in each and every week. We really appreciate it, apart from the 6 that are in this room. So, with that, guys, we'll call it a night. To the panel, thanks for your attendance here this evening. Quick, fast, dirty and simple. And we'll see you next week when we have vampires in the mind. All the best, guys, and take care.